Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is Shane from One Shift at a Time, and again we are here. It is week 10 of the Power Rankings. We're going to get right into things here in the East as always, and it is, unfortunately as always, the Buffalo Sabres who bring it to us. They snapped the streak. They got to 18 games, which matches the record with Pittsburgh Penguins, but they didn't go on to create a new record of their own. They had a big OT win tonight, and that gives them 2 wins out of their last 3 games, so not too bad. Surprising fact, they've only allowed 3.5 goals against this season, which is third best in the NHL. Who would have guessed that? Number 7, we have the Devils. They beat the Bruins and lost twice in OT this week. So not a bad week, but again, nothing to really jump them up. I think it's just a little too late for New Jersey, but we'll see. That's going to bring us to number 6, the Philadelphia Flyers. They didn't play the New York Rangers this week, and that was supposed to be a good thing. They were supposed to, have a bit of a bounce back week, but that's not the way it happened. They barely beat the Sabres, and then they lost to the Sabres 6-1, which snapped the Sabres streak. They lost again tonight, 3-2 to the Islanders, and they can't seem to string things together, and they're lucky they didn't drop farther. If they keep this way, they're going to have to, even though they're a lot higher up in the standings, but just the power rankings, they're going to have to drop. Number 5 is the New York Rangers. You know what? They had an OT win and an OT loss against the Sabres, which isn't great. It doesn't fill you with a huge amount of confidence, but again, they did better than the teams below them, so I can't really punish them for that. Ryan Strome is a very bright spot there, leading the team with 33 points. That was a great pickup from Edmonton. Love to see him doing well. Number 4, we have the Boston Bruins. Again, talk about a Jekyll and Hyde team, man. They lost 4-1 to the Pittsburgh Penguins on the first there. And then again tonight they had a lopsided win. Well, it wasn't lopsided, just a high-scoring win. It was 7-5, and it's just so weird to see the team do those same results 2 nights apart. Let's just hope the first one was a bit of an April Fool's Day joke, and Boston can right the ship. Number 3, we do have the Capitals. They had a couple concerning losses this week. They lost to the Islanders 8-4 and the Rangers 5-2 on Tuesday. So a little bit of concern, but I'm not too concerned because nobody really below them stepping up, and I think the Capitals will turn it around. I'm not, as I said, not too concerned. Number 2 is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They did have their 5-game winning streak snapped. They've been playing some really good hockey, and again they just lost 7-5 to Boston. They were right in it. It's not like it was a big blowout. It definitely wasn't a big goaltending battle or a defensive battle, but not too worried. Number 1 is going to be the Islanders. They had a bit of a 3-week bad patch at the beginning of the season, but since then they have just been on a tear. This is the first week where they haven't really done great, and we're still talking about 2 wins, 2 losses, and playing 500 hockey. So really good by the Islanders. We'll see you in the next division. All right, guys, we're off to the Central, and unfortunately, number 8, the Detroit Red Wings. Things aren't changing. They lost 3 in a row. Again, to Florida twice and to Tampa once. So not the worst teams to lose to, but still things. They've only got 12 wins and 26 losses this season, so I think it's just too little, too late again. There's going to be a lot of that. Number 7 is Columbus. I don't know. They lost twice to Detroit, and then they beat Tampa, and then lost to Tampa, and then now to Florida as well. So they've lost 4 out of their last 5. Something's got to change. Torts wants Line A to play an end-to-end style hockey. That's just not his play style. They either need to let Line A play his game, which is feed him the goddamn puck so he can put the puck in the net, or trade him, because it's just not going to work either way in this style. So number 6 is Dallas. They've actually played really well lately. They beat Nashville 4-1, and then they beat Carolina 3-2. It's nice to see. They're not out of this yet. They're only 5 points back, and they got 4 games in hand on Nashville, so they can make some moves. We'll see. Number 5 is going to be the Chicago Blackhawks, and this was a toss-up between them and Nashville, but then they lost a couple games to them this week, so I couldn't put them ahead. So that's where they're going to stand. Nashville did win the 3-0 tonight. And that's why they got pipped at the post. But gotta say, Patrick Kane, wow, he's having another great season, up to 50 points again already. Watch him go. Number 4, we got the Nashville Predators, as aforementioned. They beat Chicago 3 times this week, as well as a win against the Stars and a loss. So the Preds they're bouncing back. This is probably one of the tightest divisions in the whole league, so anyone can have a good week, and who knows where they're going to be. first and second are probably drifting away a bit, but other than that, I think it's anyone's game here. Number 3 is going to be Carolina. They split with Chicago this week and lost to Dallas. They need to step it up. I mean, it's only because teams behind them had kind of bad weeks that they didn't get dropped. But if they have another week like this, they're going to get passed. It's just, again, too tight in this one. Number 2 is the Tampa Bay Lightning. They almost got back to their number 1 spot, but the loss to the Blue Jackets cost them. They're going to have to wait and try and come back next week. But they did have some good games, and they beat Columbus and Detroit. So we'll see. We'll see how they can go. But the team that did jump them is, of course, back to number 1, the Florida Panthers. They, after I made that video, dropped last week, and they're totally right back in it. They're currently riding a 5-game win streak. So they're just playing really good hockey. I don't know how many people would have had them pegged as being tied for first place in the NHL with 52 points at this point, but there they are. All right, well, guys, we'll see you in the West. And we're off to the not-so-wild, wild West as things are settling down here. But it does seem that I'm kind of punishing the same sort of teams because they do seem to be in the bottom of the power rankings every week. But I did hope that they would turn it around, but again, they didn't seem to in this category. It is, again, the Ducks. They seem to have been in this position the whole time. And they got outscored 5-2 by Colorado, then 4-2 by the Coyotes. At least there's a new TV series about the Ducks, because that's about the only positive thing happening right now in that franchise. Number 7 is the LA Kings, and they split with the Las Vegas to start the week, so I mean that was a good start, but then they lost 2 to the Sharks. The next 4 games are make or break for them. They have 2 against the Arizona Coyotes and 2 against San Jose. Those are the winnable ones. I believe after that they have 2 against Vegas, and then they go off to Colorado. So this is where LA can salvage their season. I think they're almost out though. The St. Louis Blues in number 6, man, they had a big drop. They continue their losing streak. It's now up to 6 games. They lost the 2 against Colorado, but they were just by 1 goal each. So maybe this is the turnaround. That is a very tough team. So if you can only lose by 1 to them, that is, even though it's not positive, you can see positives in it. So that's going to bring us on to number 5, the San Jose Sharks. I believe this is the highest they've been in the power rankings this year. So this is one of the few changes that you can see in this division. As I said, seems to be pretty locked down as far as positions, but they're heating up at just the right time. They started off by beating the Wild twice, and then they finished it off by beating LA twice. So they got 4 wins in this week. And let's see if this is maintainable or if they drop off. That's going to bring us to number 4. We have the Arizona Coyotes. And yeah, they're just shy because of the 9-3 drumming that they took at the hands of the Colorado Avalanche. But it was a quiet week, so they only had that game, and then they had one other game, which they managed to win 4-2 over Anaheim. So just not enough to really move them in any direction. Number 3, we do have the Minnesota Wild. They're also staying put. As I said, nothing happening too much, but they lost twice to San Jose, but they did get 2 big wins against Las Vegas, the Vegas Golden Knights. So we'll see how that goes. That is going to bring us to number 2, the Vegas Golden Knights. They've lost 3 in a row, which is quite surprising for them, but we'll see how they go. They were both 1-goal affairs in Minnesota, so see how they can bounce back. Their next 2 games are in St. Louis, or against St. Louis, I should say. Number 1 is the Colorado Avalanche. They have regained their number 1 spot. They racked up 19 goals this week in just 4 games, and another 4-game winning streak. I believe it's actually a 5-game winning streak now. McKinnon, he even got fined. He seems fired up. Emotions are running wild, maybe a little bit too much at that time, but it's nice to see and watch Colorado go on a deep run. We'll see you in the West, or in the North. And finally, we're into the North, and we're going to, again, stick with the trend, and number 7 is the Vancouver Canucks. They were last week, and, you know, they've been in COVID protocol all week. They now have 14 team members, unfortunately, that are positive. So I couldn't see them, even if other teams lost, I can't really see pushing people up. when they're in a situation like that, it's very unfortunate, and I do hope they all get better quickly and that we can get this season going again. Number 6 is going to be Calgary all the way down, and they could have been last if they would have played Vancouver the game they played this week, and Vancouver would have beat them. There's no doubt that Calgary would be last this week. At this point, I think they're totally out as well. I think it is a top 4, and it is up to Calgary, Ottawa, and Vancouver to play spoilers in what position the other teams are. Which brings us to number 5, the Ottawa Senators, and they're playing the best hockey that they've played all year. Again, in the little too late category, as we talked about earlier. They are looking awesome though. All the young players are really kicking butt, and I can see them. If I did a ranking of the most teams with the most potential, I think Ottawa would be number 1. Number 4 is the Winnipeg Jets. They did beat Calgary, but they lost 2 critical games against Toronto. Those were must-win games. They could have really catapulted themselves up to the top of the division and the power rankings with wins over Toronto. Unfortunately, they lost those, so accordingly, things were changed. Number 3 is Montreal. They came out of their COVID protocol and really kicked some butt, so there's some hope for Vancouver. They got a big 4-0 win over the Edmonton Oilers, and it was quite surprising how well they were able to shut the Oilers down. I haven't really seen a lot of that this season. Oilers have really struggled with Montreal. That might be something to watch. But then they also got the 4-1 win over the Sens, and then the Senators came back fighting literally tonight with a huge game. Quite a great game. I'm very glad I got to watch that game. Big 6-3 win. So that stopped them from moving up even farther. Number 2, Edmonton. They only drop out of first really because of the play of the teams around them. They didn't really have that bad of a week. They did lose that game against Montreal, and again, it did seem a little strange, but I'm just going to chalk that up to Edmonton having an off night. And I believe it was like 24 hours after the game the night before. So it was really rushed. They had to go from Toronto to Montreal, so I'm not going to pin that one really on them. But then they did have a kind of a close one against Calgary at home, so they barely squeaked that one out. That's an example of Calgary playing spoiler. Then that's going to bring to number 1, the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're back to number 1. They had that close loss to Edmonton, but then 2 big wins over Winnipeg. And as I said, those are very important when you're playing the number 2 team as the number 1 team, and you can put those points of separation between you and that team and the rest of the division for that matter. That's very important. They have their next 2 games against Calgary. We'll see if Calgary can do Edmonton a favor and slow Toronto down, or if Toronto really puts distance in between them and the rest of the division. Thanks again for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed it. It is week number 10. I can't believe it's been like 2.5 months. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like, a subscribe. I know about 70% of you guys are not subscribed that are watching this, so I really do hope that today is the day that I earn your subscription. It's that big red button just below the video. Hope you guys have a great one, and we'll see you next time. Take care, guys.